Okay. So before I know we actually start talking, because I do know obviously we have that conversation and all that, the topic, but I want to talk about kind of like what we're wanting to do, rather than just immediately get into the topic, because I do think it's important to know like kind of what the point of this is. And I know like for me, and I know like we've already talked about it anyways, is I I think it's nice to just have a log, but I don't want this to be like, the podcast thing like a lot of other big ones, but I want it to just be, us talking and just about stuff that we would normally talk about. And I feel like this is a really good example, a really good way for us to do that. Just kind of put it out there, and it's not, I mean, you know,
But there's been a lot. Well, it's kind of like we was talking about before, where like when I was a kid, me and my dad would spend hours and hours having these long, drawn out conversations that even up to this day,
mm,
I still try to talk to you about things, but there's so many times I hear myself coming back to things he said.
yeah,
And there's a lot of times where I kind of wish I could go back and relive those conversations, not only to refresh myself, but also to remind myself of at different times, different things that he had said, and different things he believed at different points in his life,
yeah,
and different ways he went about expressing that to me. Some of those conversations were such profound moments in my development and in my life that it would be amazing to be able to go back and relive those moments.
well, exactly. And it's also just like there are so many times where I've been talking to friends and stuff about stuff that me and you have talked about, and it's like I wish I could have just worded it the way you did. You know what I mean? Because the way you said it was so profound, and I'm going back to it, and I'm just having to paraphrase, and it's not getting the whole point across. You know what I mean? But I think it's also nice to just get wisdom out there. You know what I mean? I feel like it's there are so many things that I've been able to learn from you that I wouldn't have been able to learn from anybody else, the same way that there's stuff that people have learned from other people that these other people's parents have gone through experiences that you haven't had, and so they can teach their kids specific things. And I think it's really nice to be able to get like a circular thing, especially because like a really good example is like you were talking about with your dad, where he went through stuff that you didn't exactly go through, and so he could teach you lessons. And while you can teach me those lessons and pass that on down, it's not the same as him sitting me down and telling me, maybe like a week and a half after some crazy thing happened, like when he was talking about the basically faking the job on the boat thing. You know what I'm that's
Yeah.
because I remember that conversation, and that just kind of blew me for a loop.
Yeah, that wouldn't even come into my thought process to be able to try to pull that off.
And
Uh,
it's me neither, but especially because just the way that he explained it was like, even now, me thinking back to it is a really good example. I can't word it the way that he did.
but he's always had a very unique way of storytelling and getting a point across. So, you know, my mom has many times told me there'll be times when I'm talking where I come across like him,
Mm-hmm.
and she don't always mean it as a compliment, but I generally take it as a compliment because whether I was a kid or even as an adult, I loved just sitting and listening to Dad talk,
Mm-hmm.
because even if we didn't always agree on stuff, and sometimes we didn't, we were always able to sit and have a civilized back and forth, and just hearing his point of view, even if it was different, would still allow me to understand how he got there.
Yeah.
And that gave me a unique understanding in talking to other people throughout, as I grew up, there'd be times where I get into an argument with somebody, and one thing it taught me was instead of just doing the I'm right, you're wrong, da 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 da, here's why. It seems so obvious to me, but usually the just hitting somebody with the facts isn't going to get through to them. You've got to understand how they got there and then kind of work back. You got to lead them to it. But to do that, you've got to understand how they got there first.
Exactly. You have to understand because and that's been a really big problem when, I'm talking to somebody or I see it's a really big problem when I see a lot of other people talking and it's somebody just beating somebody else over the head with like, but this is what science said and this is what it said, and they're not even taking a second to realize why the other person thinks what they think, and maybe what has happened for them to kind of come to the conclusions that they've come to, because everybody's lived a different life and made everybody's influenced from everything around them, but at the end of the day, what people latch on to is up to them based off of their environment and who they are, and it's just not. It's just beating somebody over the head with the facts like that specifically is always just. It's just you end up just coming off really annoying.
Well, understanding that every person is a culmination of several different things. Everybody has the same facts. Facts are facts and they don't change.
No.
But what you take away from those facts depends on the lens that you look through. And your lens is crafted by all the choices you've made and all the experiences you've had throughout your life. So everybody's lens is a little different. Me and you can both look at the same facts and get completely different results from that. But if I understand the process, if I take the time to talk to you and have a conversation and figure out how you came to that conclusion, then we can figure out why we disagree, or even if we really do. Because sometimes you'll think you're really butting heads with somebody and you're kind of saying the same thing, but from opposite sides.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
Lord knows
we've
we've
kinda
had
had
a
that
lot.
too. So,
But
but you never know that if you don't take the time to talk to the person
yeah,
and you just assume that you're automatically right.
even if it's somebody like I've been at work and a couple people be talking about choice subjects, Lord knows when it comes to politics, and everybody's just kind of they're just saying what they believe and they're just hitting the other person over the head with it, and it's never it never just ends up being like an understanding of each other and an okay, and that's part of it, I think, is just not really being able to be okay with having a disagreement. Because I know me and you talk about a lot how we disagree on things, but it's okay because we're different people. We're going to believe different things and we're going to want different things and think that different things are better. And that's okay because that's why we're different. If everybody believed the exact same things, I mean, I know it's stuff you hear in elementary school, but like, if everybody believed the same things, it'd be such a boring world.
Well, think about it. There's so many people that profit from discourse. The more we argue, the more we separate, the more opportunity there is for somebody to come in and make a buck off of it.
Yeah.
You look at the news, they 24 hours a day, they want to cram catastrophe and division down your throat.
Yeah.
It's white versus black, rich versus poor, the haves versus have not. You name it. They're constantly coming up with new boxes to get us to fight with each other.
Yeah.
But when we stop and we really break it down on the things that matter, we're pretty much all on the same page.
Exactly.
It's generally fringe stuff that we tend to argue about, and it's stuff that gets inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
you know, at the end of the day, everybody wants the same things. I mean, generally, everybody wants to have a family. They want to have people they care about. They want friends. You want a home. You want to be safe. You know, you want food. You want to be warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and peace.
Yeah.
That's what people really want. But that don't make them a lot of money. They want to beat you over the head with, you need the nice new shiny thing, and this person has it and you don't. So get mad and do whatever you got to do to go spend this money and buy this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't solve anything.
It never does. It's really funny because like probably once every 2 or 3 months this game will pop up on my feed, and it's a game where in the beginning it's just a bunch of people. Some of them have square heads, some of them have circle heads, and that's all it is. And the whole point of the game is you're taking pictures. You're like a news agency, and you're taking pictures, and it'll say something. And what it is as you take pictures of stuff over the game, different things will happen based off of what. But no matter what, it all leads to the same thing of, a square and a circle will get into a fight, and it'll be like squares hate circles now. And then you'll start seeing more fights break out, and then more people will get mad, and eventually the game ends when you take a photo and it says everyone hates everyone. And I wish I could remember the name of the game, but it's stuff like that where I think people don't always remember at the end of the day that we are all just people doing what we think that we should to get by.
And I think if you start from that perspective, with most of these arguments, everybody wants to start from the outside, whatever you disagree with, and then yell at each other. But if you start from that center point of, look, we all want the same thing. Everybody wants peace. We want to have our life, do our thing, and just do our best to enjoy life. If you start from there and you work outward, okay, this is what you're upset about. Well, we know this is what we want. We both want this. We're disagreeing out here. If you start from the center and work out until you find where you split, now you found the true divergence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can address that issue, you might be able to influence them in a way that they hadn't thought of, or vice versa. They may hit you with something that's completely out of the blue, and you're like, I never thought about that.
They're so right, and I never even realized.
And
yeah.
If you're being honest with yourself, and that's the key, being honest with yourself, you got to be willing to go back and say, they made a good point I never thought of.
Are they right?
Am
I the one that's wrong?
And that's so many people, they get so prideful and they're scared of it.
I don't know how many things there are to make this place so cold.
Okay, maybe there's not another one.
Maybe not. Maybe it's hidden. That's the third air conditioner that's turned on. But yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, because there have been so many people. There's somebody specifically that I know that is always like, I talk to people and they never want to listen. And it's like a conversation goes two ways. You know what I mean? I'm saying something, the other person is saying something. They say something, I listen. I say something, they listen. That's how it works. If they say something, if we're talking about trees and I talk about, how you can cut it down, if you cut it down from the right, you hit it, okay, I'm doing this but if you cut it down, it falls the way other than what you're cutting it down. But then they talk about some weird bendy tree. You know what I mean? We're talking about two different things and we don't even really realize it. And that's part of it. But what I was getting at, I really zoned out there for a second. But what I was getting at was like, some people, they want other people to listen to them, but they don't listen to other people. And that is such it just always ends in a disconnect, because at the end of the day, especially if the other person was genuinely trying to have a conversation. Now you're both frustrated
Yeah.
because the other person, you may be making good points, and the other person is now they're not going to listen because you're not listening. And now you're both kind of at a disadvantage because like you may have been making good points, but you're also being really annoying about it. There's that thing about like when you don't want to agree with somebody because they're low key being annoying about it. It's that kind of thing.
Well, that's one thing that makes good conversation really hard to find. There's seems to be very few people that want to talk about things and are really able to be open-minded
Yeah.
and willing to be wrong. Because we're all beat over the head with you have to be right, you have to be the best, you got to be, which is silly because, no matter how good you are at anything, there's always somebody that's better. There's always somebody that knows more. So you're just not being honest with yourself. And if you're just talking to somebody to prove your point, then you're not having a conversation.
Exactly.
You're talking at them and not to them.
Yeah, and Lord knows almost nobody hates anything more than that. When somebody's just talking at you, it's always the most annoying thing. And excuse me, excuse me, but it's nobody ever listens. But when it comes to that, because why would they? Like you're not listening to them. It's a really bad double standard with that. But
It's really hard not to do when something is so obvious to you.
yeah,
And then you get mad on top of that.
yeah,
So when they insult you or they say something personal, it's really hard not to take that to heart and then fire back
yeah,
and just make it the whole point to prove them wrong.
yeah,
But if the key to all of it, almost every issue we have, whether it's parenting or political or with your friends or at your job, almost every issue with other people just comes down to the poor communication.
honestly,
Either you're not understanding each other or one of you is just trying to be right. And
yeah,
it doesn't matter what the other person has to say. If everybody was just truly open and honest when they talk to each other and able to have that communication, if everybody was willing to say, here's my point, I could be wrong, this is what I believe and why, and then be willing to listen to the other person do the same thing, then you could get through to each other.
yeah,
Then you hit, and you start with, it's not that I believe this, you believe that, you're my enemy, I have to prove you wrong, and I have to convince you to come to my side, otherwise I'm wrong.
yeah.
You don't want to do that
Because
now you're setting the stage as enemies. But if we're taking the time to talk, you need to come to it as friends at least, and say, treat it with the mentality of we're going to try to work it out.
yeah.
We're going to figure out what this is.
Well, and specifically because like there's nothing bad about being wrong. In fact, I think if you're wrong and you can really sit down and be like, you know what? I was wrong about this certain thing, but that's okay, and I'm going to learn from it. That's entirely respectable and so much better than just being wrong and being stubborn and not changing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to sit down and be like, that was on me, or like that was you know what? I misunderstood this entire time. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I'll do what I said I was gonna do, and we can talk about the worlds thing, because I also think that's part of it. I think part of the reason is because people communicate so differently that if you try to communicate with somebody that communicates an entirely different way with you, I can't communicate with somebody that speaks Spanish very well. I can't do it. I tried that in Spanish class. It did not work. Did not work. I mean, I can try, but when you communicate differently, and I think that's part of it is, and I think that's part of the reason a lot of people find it hard to communicate to their kids, because they never, like, they don't really understand where their kid's coming from, or they don't really understand what the kid is trying to say, because I know you have a problem with it, how differently we talk with the same words.
Drives me insane. I mean, I get it, it's a thing, and it's the way the world functions now. You know, when I was raised, it was always a word has a meaning,
Yeah.
and that was the basis for how you communicated with everybody. Was we all shared the same language. If I said a word, it meant the same to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and there may be a word or two here that it changes, but not very much. But everybody can still understand each other. I could sit and
Yeah.
talk to my parents. I could talk to my grandparents. When I was little, I could even talk to my great grandparents,
Yeah.
and we all understood each other just fine.
Yeah. Me trying to talk to my great grandparents?
You trying to talk to your parents.
Yeah, just parents, but especially with
There is so
grandparents.
many times where you'll say stuff. You did it today.
I know.
Where I was like, wait, what?
I was talking about my VODs channel, and it stands for something. It's like, I don't know exactly what it is, but it stands for something. But I was just like VODs, and it really didn't even occur to me that that's something that you might not know. You know what I mean? Because I just
You said
say it.
your VOD got murked.
Yeah,
I'm
my
like, what?
VOD got murked.
Individually,
That's right.
individually, I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, but I don't understand the context of which you're using them.
Yeah, my VODs channel got murked. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I remember that now. But well, and that's one thing. Which one I had never, which I also never thought about the fact that I also never even told you about the VODs channel in the first place. But to be fair, I made that like 6 months ago. That was a while. That was a lot longer than that. That was back when I was playing Silk Song.
Well,
That would have been about a year ago.
and to kind of, bring it back, that was part of why we decided to do all of this in the beginning, was your realization that in the middle of a conversation, when we hit on that point where you had that light bulb moment where, you said something and I responded in, almost disagreement, but I was trying to find that middle ground. But I said something and I was like, wait a minute, da 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 da. And you go, oh,
Ooh.
you think this means that? I'm like, well, it does mean that. And you go, no, that's not how we use it. That means this. And then it just kind of clicked with both of us that not only in our day-to-day life, but also even in the way we speak, that your generation has been living in a completely new world. So,
And I think the reason, because even me for a while, every time you would say that, I had a visceral reaction to it, because a lot of people use that in a derogatory way. And I don't think it's necessarily anything to say about like my generation in general. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just a noticeable difference. You know what I mean? And obviously, it's every not old person, but every generation going back all throughout time talks bad about the next generation. There was, I wish I could remember the video so I could pull it up, but there was one that went back to it was like this, it was a while back, but it was the generation talking bad about flappers back when that was becoming a thing, and then back when there was another generation of, it was parents writing how mad they were that their daughters could go to school. You know what I mean? And it's just like anytime any change like that happens, everybody gets mad. And there's been a lot of changes over time, like the flappers or women being able to go to school. But this is such a the technology thing makes it to where it's almost it's almost impossible for us to communicate, because it's not even just we communicate differently, it's we communicate on like different planes.
well, it's like if you brought somebody from the 1800s and you plopped them down today and tried to explain how the cell phone network works.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't comprehend it. And it's weird because my age bracket, we were the last of the old world. And yours is the first of the new world.
Yeah.
So like with you being a teenager coming up now, you were the first ones to grow up from day one where the internet was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And everything is digital and everything's connected and everybody is connected. My parents grew up in a world where there was no internet, nothing was connected, everything was distant, and time was slow.
Yeah.
So my parents, my grandparents, they grew up in a world where when they were kids, they were told what life was going to be like when they got older.
Yeah.
They were taught how to prepare for life. And it was always kind of the promise that if you go to school, you do what you're supposed to. When you get out, you get a job, you get a family, buy a house, have kids, retire, all that good stuff. Like, it's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And if you did the right steps, you was pretty much guaranteed at least a decent outcome.
Exactly.
My generation was the first, we were raised that way. You know, from the time I was in elementary school, we were told, you know, go to school, get good grades, graduate, then you'll go to college. You get out of college, you'll get married, have kids, get a house, and have a career, and things will just be great. But then the internet exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And about the time
Changed.
I was in middle school, I remember when the first kid in the entire school
Mm-hmm.
had the internet. And we thought it was the coolest thing because we could buy blank CDs and he would charge $0.25 a song and he would make us any CD we wanted. And for the first time, we like truly got to have our own music.
Yeah.
That wasn't a cassette tape where we would have to sit all day and wait for that song to come on and then we would try to record it.
Yeah.
It's the only way you had your own music. You know, if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to pray they was home and somebody else wasn't on the phone.
Yeah.
Because if somebody was
Or
on
the internet.
you got the busy tone.
Well,
But
I guess
once the
that way,
internet
yeah.
come on, if they were on the internet, then you got that crazy dial-up sound,
Yeah. Well, didn't
or
I
it
thought
disconnected them.
I was gonna say, yeah, I thought you couldn't be on the internet while the phone was going off, or like while somebody was on the phone. I thought it was like a.
Well, the way it
I
worked,
may have just seen it in old TV shows, but like.
well, if somebody was on the internet and you called,
Mhm.
it would kill the internet line and send the call through. Sometimes. Then there were some ways where like you would call and it would give you this crazy tone. But anybody that remembers the old dial-up tone knows exactly what I'm talking about. I can't tell you how many times like I was on the phone talking to a girl or something, or one of my buddies, and which by this point I was done in high school. We had done moved here
Mhm.
before we actually had the internet in the house,
Yeah.
and it was very rudimentary. I mean, it would take forever. You wanted to see a picture, you literally would click on it and you would walk away and go do something else and come back. You know, you might eat dinner or whatever, come back and the picture may be loaded. But
And we're not even gonna talk about videos.
oh god, they were non-existent. There are times where I would click a video, you'd hit play and then immediately hit pause. And you go off for, hours and come back, and depending on the length of the video, it may be done and it may not, but it could take several hours for a video to download.
It's kind of crazy to me that the short form content didn't explode in that time period. You know what I mean? I feel like if I could only load or if it took forever to load 20-minute videos, I would just try to get as much as I can into 1-minute videos. Rather than nowadays when, a video can just load instantly.
Well, the thing about the internet is it exploded so quickly
Mm-hmm.
because you went from having dial up within just, I mean, now it seems like a long time, but in just a few years, you started having the faster speeds.
Yeah.
Because, I think I was in like ninth or 10th grade when we got dial up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I graduated, we had, Facebook was come out, uh, YouTube was starting to be a thing, but the internet speeds had vastly improved.
Yeah.
And then it's like year over year, it just exponentially grows. The speeds are better, the programs are better, computers are better, everything just works better.
Yeah.
And it's made everything so accessible and it's so fast. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates because, like I was saying, in the world that I grew up in, everything was slow and we had a set way that life was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And because all that happened toward the end of like my school years, by the time I graduated, it didn't really feel that different until I got into the adult world. And it really didn't take long to start to realize, like, wait a minute, this is harder than they said it would be. This
Yeah.
isn't exactly what we were promised. I graduated in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember being in 8th grade, we had 9/11. That was kind of crazy for a while. And then I
Yeah.
graduated in 06. In 2008, we had the financial housing crash.
Yeah.
That caused a whole big crisis. There was in 2000, they had the dot-com bubble bust. But it's like throughout my childhood and then into my adulthood, we've had just like crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. And it's got to the point of today where literally every day it seems like there's a new crisis.
What was that? What was there was something I saw. I saw Penguin Zero post a couple of videos on it. The explosive diarrhea stuff. It
Yeah.
was like parasites in the food or something.
There's a parasite in
Was it
produce.
lettuce?
One of the biggest ones is lettuce, but yeah, it's in a lot of your vegetables
and like that's something that I mean I didn't even click on any of those videos. You know what I mean? And I watch them consistently. I didn't even click on any of those videos because it was just like it's just another, it's just something else. It's not even. It doesn't even really like bother me anymore. You know what I mean? Like if it happens, it happens. Oh well. I'm gonna try to avoid it, I guess. Kind of. But I mean, there was COVID.
I didn't even
Yeah.
how that one slipped. I don't know.
Yeah, like most people don't even think about it. I think COVID changed the trajectory of our future as people, honestly. I think being kept inside, if you look at just how brain rotted social media was, especially for somebody like me that was actively scrolling during COVID, and I look back on what I was scrolling, it was like, how in the world did, because everybody was just so trapped, they were just trapped inside and they were just like kind of trying to get through it, but I don't know, social media was a barren wasteland during that. It was horrible. And if you look at a lot of people after all of it, it's like I don't even know how to explain it. But it really does feel like COVID is a cutoff between, like when I think of when I think of childhood, I always think of before COVID, but sometimes mid COVID because I was playing DBD a lot then, and I associate DBD a lot with my childhood. It's just a
COVID
very
really
sad thing to do, but
COVID really changed the world for everyone.
yeah,
And it was an especially weird time for me
yeah,
because I worked at a college
Mhm.
as maintenance. We were considered essential. We had people living in the facility. Being essential, my job didn't stop.
Yeah.
You know, I know there was people that got paid to stay at home. That wasn't me. I still had to get up and go to work every day. Uh, and it was so jarring because my day to day didn't change. My life didn't change. But it was like the entire world around me just paused in time.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the social media aspect,
Yeah, you weren't really
I
on.
had already noticed a problem.
Were you on social media at the time?
No,
I couldn't remember. You
no,
said.
it was actually right before that I quit. Well, I say that. It was actually a couple
I would
years.
say yeah, because we were talking about it the other night, and you said it's been about 10 years since you stopped having Facebook. And I know the
Yeah.
closest thing to any social media you have is YouTube, but you don't. You're not one of those people that just sits and scrolls YouTube Shorts. Thank God.
No, I'm
So.
intentional with that. But like with social media, what I realized was I would do it a lot. Like I'd go through there, I'd look at people's posts, I'd comment on things, and I'd scroll through and see what everybody else was doing. But it always led to one or two emotions. Either I walked away jealous because other people was getting to do stuff that I either
Mhm.
couldn't do, couldn't afford to do, or was left out of, or people were saying things that would make me mad.
Yeah.
So I always walked away either jealous or mad.
Well.
And it was such a bad experience that one day it hit me. I was like, I don't enjoy this.
Mhm.
Why am I doing it? And then, especially by the point I met my wife now, then it was like, there is literally no reason. The people that I care about, they'll call me,
Yeah.
they'll text me, they'll
Whenever I
come
need
see
it.
me. I can go see them. And, I've heard people say, well, I need it for pictures.
You just have a
Well,
camera.
just have them text you the pictures or
Yeah,
print
that
them
works.
out or
Yeah.
put them on the wall or in an app. There's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
At that point, it's just kind of an excuse.
Yeah, and that's
And
that's definitely a big part of it.
so realizing how bad that was for me, being exposed to that all the time, I just kind of spit myself out of that system
Yeah.
before the whole COVID thing hit. So I didn't catch that backlash of it.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, and to be completely fair, I think part of it is people have kind of realized, like some of my favorite creators, not creators as in specific people, but some of my favorite things to watch when I'm scrolling. One of my favorite things is joy baiting. And it's just people going around. It's called joy baiting. I don't know why it needs a term. Everything is baiting in some form of the aspect. Or baiting or maxing are the two. Everything is. But joy baiting is just, it always makes for just really good content because it really is just people being really nice. Now, sometimes I'll get a video on my feed that's just somebody being utterly mean. I saw one yesterday of this dude walking up to a Walmart worker and he was like, how much would it take you for you to quit the job right here? And the dude was like, 5K. He was like, 5K, really? And he was like, and the worker was like, yeah. And he said, you got Cash App? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, I thought so. Get back to pushing those carts. And just walked away. You could see the light fade from this man's eyes. It was so sad because he got so happy. And there were videos like that, and I hate those. But there are so many videos just of people being nice that I really like to watch. There's always the people. There was somebody, I forget who it was, but I saw somebody else talking about them that was like, they would be nice to the homeless people, but they would ask the homeless people to get into dumpsters. So the whole
Yeah.
shtick of their videos was like, oh, this homeless man, I found this dude in a dumpster, but now I'm helping him. Like that, I'm not talking about that. But just joy baiting. Now, I understand the jealous, because let me tell you, I've been jealous of these people with the jumping spiders recently. I want a jumping spider. But
Well, the thing you got to realize, and we were kind of tricked into it, because in the early days, especially with Facebook was the one that really hit it. I mean, I know there was like MySpace and some others before, but Facebook was the first one to really nail down the algorithm and to be able to just grab attention where
Yeah.
people were doing it. Like MySpace, people would get on there in the evenings or something for a minute and you might throw some messages back and forth or play with something. That was it.
yeah,
Facebook became an all the time thing because it was so easy to just throw up at posts. So
yeah,
people were sharing like everything. And I remember early on, and of course now I know it was just like data mining.
Yeah.
But they would have things like they would have a little section off to the side, and it's like where you could list off the movies that you own, and you could have that as a thing. So it would tell you like if other friends had that movie, and it was
So you could
sold
talk
to
about
you
that
as a
movie.
way of like, hey, this many of your friends also own this movie or like this song or whatever it was, and they tried all kind of little quirky things like that.
Yeah.
But people just really tended to just they used it almost like a surrogate friend.
Mm-hmm.
They would post, oh, I'm doing this, and uh, I had this for breakfast and we're doing that, and it became very casual, but it
Yeah.
got flooded
Yeah.
because everybody was doing it. So Facebook then took their algorithm and they said, all right, well, we've got to try to figure out a way to make it relevant because people aren't engaging with this. It's actually turning people off. So they changed the algorithm and determined what would be shown on your page by what you clicked on and who you paid attention to.
Yeah.
Well, what that led to was people just posting the highlights of their day.
Yeah.
So they got more engagement. People commented more. Like nobody cared what you had for breakfast.
Yeah.
But you're posting pictures of you at the beach or on a family trip or even
Yeah.
something as simple as like going to the park, but if it's a picture of you and the kids, the family tend to comment on that one.
Yeah. Well,
More
like
interactions
like
means more engagement, which helps the site. So they promote that, which
yeah.
makes yours get more view and makes you feel better.
Yeah.
So what you end up with today is you go on Facebook and it is literally everybody's highlight reel.
Yeah.
So
It
you're
really.
looking at people and you're like, well, it seems like every day they're doing something great. And but you're just looking at the high points.
Yeah.
You don't see when they couldn't pay that bill or they got a flat tire or the kids driving them crazy because they showed out in the store. You don't see all of that.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, as much as I hate it, that is starting to decline as well because people are also starting to post their low points, which I don't feel like we should be doing. Have a little bit of privacy. But you know what? It's your social media at the end of the day. And that's one of the things like I think like there's stuff that you should post and there's stuff that you shouldn't post. But at the end of the day, what you decide to post is up to you. As long as you realize, like, yeah, people are definitely going to look at me a little differently if I post this specific thing. And I mean, that's the digital footprint.
Well, and it's going back to what we was talking about earlier about the two worlds.
Yeah.
My parents grew up in a truly in their childhood and into adulthood, plumb up until late adulthood.
Yeah.
They grew up in an analog world that here in the latter parts of their life, they're going and they have digital aspects. So they dabble in it a little bit.
Mm.
They may use the
TikTok.
delivery apps or they may look at some videos on TikTok or may post some stuff on Facebook, but it's not integral
Yeah.
to their existence.
It's not a main part of their day.
And then you look at
Somebody
my
like
group as the bridge where we grew up analog, but as adults we're forced to live in a digital world that's
Yeah.
different from what we was promised. It's really hard. We're trying to we were given a square peg and we're trying to make it fit in a round hole. So now we've got to
It goes in the square hole.
yeah, we've got to carve off those edges and try to make it fit. So I think that's why a lot of people in my generation are having this adaptability issue
Yeah.
because we were prepared for one thing and then given something completely different.
Yeah.
Whereas your generation is raised in a digital world, living in a digital world, and preparing for a digital world.
Yeah.
So yours will be the first in this new world. My parents were the last of the old world. and we're kind of the bridge that's stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's where the disconnects come from, because most everything you learn is when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So because we're having to round off those edges and change, used to things changed generation to generation, but it was slow. It was, innovations came a few times in your lifespan.
Yeah.
Now seems like the world changes, if not every year, every month.
Yeah.
Everything is so fast. By the time you learn one thing, you're already 2 generations behind.
Yeah. There, I mean,
And
3 days, if something happened 3 days ago on the internet, it might as well be ancient news already.
well, you're adapted to, which I know it's harder on the mind, but your group is adapting to live in a chaotic and constantly changing world.
Man.
You talking about the videos? I seen one that was talking about your millennial. They were calling it the millennial bridge,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I keep
You're
saying
not
bridge.
millennial, are you?
Yes,
Oh.
I'm considered a graybeard.
Oh.
I'm one of the earliest of the millennials.
Yikes! I did not realize you were a millennial.
Yeah, which it's kind of weird because where I grew up, they say it's 20 years behind,
Oh yeah, you're not wrong.
and it really kind of is.
Every time I've
So
gone.
I was raised. If you look at my upbringing, it was more like what you would expect from a Gen X.
Yeah.
But technically, I'm a graybeard millennial. It hurts to say, but it's true.
I'm just if I would have been born 1 year later, I would be sad to say my generation, but I wasn't. Thank goodness. I think Gen Z isn't Gen Z. The only reason it has the negative
Connotation.
Yep. I just had a stroke there. The only reason it has that negative connotation is because there are so many millennials that put that on it. It's like that video of that woman going, Gen Z is trying to cancel Eminem. That video, stuff like that. And so that's the only spot where it goes. But there's a lot of people online, like I've seen it sometimes, like when you're going through your YouTube feed, and it's like Gen Z versus millennials, and it's like this whole TikTok thing that nobody even knew existed. A total of 6 people knew it was happening, but it got like reported on, and then now it's to a wider audience, and it's just stuff like that. There's a lot of all the disconnect with all the generation stuff, but I also think generations are used so much by people my age to talk bad about older people, the same way older people talk about generations a lot to look down at younger people. And I'm just as guilty of it because I talk bad about Gen Alpha so much. I'm not any different. But Gen Alpha is just a special case.
You look at before, there was a lot of stability.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew what to expect, at least to a certain degree. I mean, there's always wild cards and things out of nowhere that kind of throw you for a loop. But generally, you know how life is supposed to proceed. You know how you're supposed to operate in a job market. You know how you're supposed to be around people and friends and how you interact with the world. That stability, humankind with friendships and relationships has functioned pretty well one way.
Yeah.
As far back as you go. You meet people, you talk to them, you like them, you do things together, you bond. Friend. There's stability in that. When you come back to this bridge generation, we were raised with that stability. That's how we made friends and did, if you wanted to find somebody to date or you're looking for somebody to marry, you had to go places, and basically you relied on chance or divine intervention to run into somebody, and then you had to converse. You had to take a chance, and
Yeah.
then But if there wasn't somebody in your area, you was pretty much out of luck.
Yeah.
And then you get older, we come into the adult world, and all of a sudden the internet's a thing, and then there's online dating, and then there's all the everybody being scammy, and there's this whole catfish thing, and
Yeah, the entire world just feels like I don't remember what year it was, but the entire world just feels like old school RuneScape with all the scams that are going on.
yeah,
It's
it's
horrible.
constant. Everybody's trying to get one over on you.
I mean,
So we were raised with the reliability and security of the old world,
yeah,
but we were thrown into chaos as adults that we weren't ready for.
yeah,
You're being raised in chaos, so you kind of know to expect it
exactly.
as you go on, and that's led to not a resurgence. That's why, like, if you look at a lot of people my age get stuck on old shows, so they'll go back and watch shows from the 90s that they grew up
Full
on.
House.
I've heard a lot of people refer to or talk about it, and I'm gonna call it the office effect.
Mm,
You know, I'm guilty of it. I've seen every episode of The Office probably 5 or 6 times. I like the show.
mm-hmm.
And there's several times where, you'd come in from work, you sit down, you want to throw something on TV, and it's like, you would like to find something new. You start scrolling through, and then there's Netflix, and there's Hulu, and there's Disney Plus, and Paramount,
Prime,
and Peacock,
Peacock.
and NBC. Like, there's all these different apps, and then each one's got a catalog of everything, and it's like, wow. I know I like The Office. We'll just throw it somewhere in the middle of one of those and just let
Yeah.
it roll.
That's basically what I would do with my body cams. I've watched the same body cam 10 times over just because I know I like it. I know it's a case that I'm interested in.
Well, I learned that there's a reason for that. They say that the human mind can only make about 1,500 decisions a day. Well, generally, when you're a kid, you're not making a whole lot of your own decisions. Whether it's parents, teachers, whoever, most of the rules and the decisions that are made for you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you come in, you still got a lot of energy, you still feel hyped up, and your brain still has that space.
Yeah.
As an adult, you are constantly making decisions back to 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 back all day long. You're doing it from the time you get up till the time you go to bed. Well, generally, by the time you get home from work, your mind is just fried.
Yeah.
You're done. It's a brain fatigue. And anything new, whether it's like trying a new show, or maybe it's a new movie or a new TV show, whatever, your brain actually interprets that as possibly dangerous. Anything new is possibly dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's tired. It don't want to think about it. It might like it, but it might not. And because the brain just functions on pure caloric energy, it takes more energy to try this show, not like it, have to change it, pick something new, try that one. It might work, it might not. Or we can take the safe route and just throw on something you like.
Yeah.
And then you get this false sense of comfort because you're not going into the dangerous zone.
Yeah, the amount of times that I've done something like that where I've clicked on something and I was like, I'll throw a new YouTuber on, or I'll throw, even if it's just something as simple as, because I always watch the same channel when it comes to body cams, but even if it's just something as simple as a body cam, like if I'm trying to find a new body cam, it takes so long. Now, one, that's because I've watched almost every one they've posted, but like it takes so long. And half the times, if I find a new one, after like 5 or 10 minutes, I'll just change it to one that I know I like.
Well, I'm the world's worst about that with video games.
Mm-hmm.
If you look through my back catalog, we figured it up. I've got like 380 different games in my Microsoft account. Of course, I've had the same account for over 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
But I've got like 380 games in my Microsoft, and then I've got close to 200 games in Steam. But how many games do you really see me play? Like, I might play through one and beat it, and then I never touch it again.
Yeah.
But I've only got 2 or 3 that I play a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I play Ark, I play GTA, and now we're stuck on Power World. But
Stuck on Power World.
yeah, I ain't played anything else in the last 2 months.
I haven't. I tried to load up Ultros one day. I did not like that game. I don't like games with bad controls, and that game's controls felt bad. And I loaded up something else, but it was another super simple game, just something to pass the time. Because I refuse to load up Cyberpunk again because I know if I load that game up, especially because I was right in the middle of that save before we started playing Power World, I know I'm not gonna want to play Power World again because I want to play Cyberpunk so bad, and I already haven't played it in like 2 or 3 weeks. So
To me, Power World is just a perfect game.
It
Between
is-
the building, the creature collecting, the controls are on point. Like,
maybe not as much with their boss design. I did not have fun with that last night. I wasn't even mad. I just needed something to complain about. I was I was so mad at that. What was it, Panthalus?
yes,
Oh my gosh. I was so mad at that Panthalus.
what's weird is we both had the same POW. We were both on that.
I don't know why. Okay, because it was the attack that always one-shots you, no matter what. I think at least because I tried to escape it, and it was keeping me in it as the wave was moving. It was holding me in it, and I couldn't get out of it, even with the jump master flight boots, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're actually called, but something Mark EX. Like, I could not escape, and my mount couldn't escape, and so I just died. Why would you allow that attack to be summoned on somebody? Why? And what made me so much more mad was the fact that the first time we beat it, you beat it because I died while it was at like 3,000 health. I was right there. And I got it. I even got it. It gave it to me. It counted.
But then the second time you died,
But to the wave.
yeah,
The first time I died because I was being an idiot, and I was okay with that. It was like, you know what, my fault, whatever. The second time I died because the waves spawned on top of me, and I couldn't escape.
see, I couldn't figure out why he was having so much trouble because we were on the same creature.
Well, I was swapping a lot.
Or was you?
Yeah.
See,
So
I stayed on the
I
same one
was
the
swapping
entire
a lot.
time.
I saved, so I had Frostalia knocked as my best one, and that was I didn't even use him in the fight that we beat. The fight that we beat the dude.
Mm.
So
See, I was on just the Frostallion the whole time.
yeah.
But I had it equipped with that lightning move, which was doing so much more damage.
I was
But
just
that was what was confusing me because I'm like, we're on the same one, and I can outrun these attacks. So
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why you wasn't able to.
it wasn't even that I couldn't outrun them because I got to the point where I was just those bubbles that I was complaining about, I was just taking their ankles at the end. The only problem was that wave every time. Oh, that wave made me so mad. But
Yeah, it's,
Power World
it's
is I'm really excited for the card game.
yes.
But I'm curious. Is there like a trailer out for the card game that you know of?
I haven't seen any official data other than it's coming.
Oh, so they just kind of did like hey, we're coming out with one at some point for sure.
Yeah, there was actually a few things that they announced. They were talking about more content coming for the game.
Yeah, they said this was just the beginning. I did see that.
Yeah, they were.
There are already people opening up packs. Is the new Power World TCG worth buying? ? First look and honest review by Surgical Ninja 5 days ago. I'm gonna save that to watch later. So
Yeah, I hadn't actually
I'd
seen
recommend that.
any of the cards. I don't know what kind of play style it's going to be like.
well, and that's what I was saying. I'm curious about if it's just going to be, for lack of a better word, a Pokemon clone. Because to be fair, if you look at card games, almost no game is a Pokemon clone. almost every game is something similar to Magic.
Yeah.
There are a lot of games like Flesh and Blood that are entirely different. And that's part of the reason that I love Flesh and Blood so much. Because like I love Cataclysm, Arcade, and I love Riftbound. Both of those games feel very heavily like Magic. Flesh and Blood just doesn't have that. It just doesn't feel like Magic. Cataclysm's a simpler one. Riftbound just feels like Magic with, that whole moving mechanic and all that. But there's not really a whole lot of games that you see that are really Pokemon clones. Because Pokemon is kind of a hard one to clone without changing, you know what I mean? And change it. It's a hard one to clone and change because Pokemon is so... Like, if you take anything from Pokemon, it's going to be known you took something from Pokemon. Like, if you take the prize cards...
Is so straightforward.
Yeah.
It is such a streamlined experience.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You got the picture, you got the ability, you got the moves.
Yeah.
That's it.
And there's...
energy, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they got like the trainer cards that you can strategize with and do some cool stuff, but it's limited in scope.
Well, and one of the biggest things is you never have to worry about the other person doing stuff on your turn. When you're in Pokemon, the other person is never doing anything on your turn under any circumstances.
Yeah.
It is your turn. You get to play one supporter. You get to play one energy. You do one attack, and your turn's over. You could technically play a bunch of items if you wanted to, but like that's it. Yeah, and it's also a pretty... Like, you got to get the 6 prize cards. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a... It's a super simple... There's not an attacking the person element. Like I listen to all the card games that I like, and I forgot to list Yu-Gi-Oh! Good lord. But I don't really play Yu-Gi-Oh! But like Yu-Gi-Oh! You're attacking the person. Riftbound, you're trying to get points. Cataclysm, you're attacking the person. Magic, you're attacking the person, and you kind of get that where you're always attacking the person. Whereas Pokemon, there's no like meta, anything like that. Like, you're not being attacked under any circumstance. It's just beat the Pokemon. Once you beat their team, that's it. Like, it just is. It's just such a perfect, simple experience. And also, as much as I hate to give them literally any credit, they have such a good collection aspect. I hate it. And the Pokemon IP is so perfect. It is so recognizable. For somebody like me, my favorite is Joltik and Galvantula. I can't pick between them. But for somebody like you, you've got your favorite. Is it Rhydon or Rhyhorn?
Rhyhorn.
Okay. So... And it's, I mean, there's everybody has that saying, every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. And it's genuinely true because they're all made to be somebody's favorite. Even, a stupid fish like Bruxish. That's the one that I always go back to. I don't know how that's somebody's favorite, but you know what it is.
Well, there's so many different types and different styles, that there's different aspects. Rhyhorn was always my favorite as a kid. It was always a really close between... I always defaulted to Rhyhorn because, like, I've never met anybody else that was like, that's their favorite.
Yeah.
My second, which is extremely close, is Cubone.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that like Cubone.
Yeah.
So I was like, between the two, I'm going to differentiate myself a little bit, and we'll go with the Rhyhorn.
Cubone's not a very niche favorite.
I've always, had such a thing with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And Rhyhorn's kind of got that look, so it just kind of fit.
Yeah, well, and that's my favorite as a kid, and I don't really know why, but my favorite as a kid was always Mawile.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why. And then there was that phase a couple years ago where it was changing. Like, every day I had a new favorite Pokemon because I was trying to figure out which one really encapsulated me, which one I really liked. And even now, like, there are a lot that I think are cool, but they're just not favorite material. And Mawile is one of those. Mawile to this day is in my top 5. I love Mawile. I think it's so cool. And also, she just got a Mega Evolution. I don't know if she just got a Mega Evolution or if she's had one, but I've never seen it before, and I saw it recently. They just added an extra plant head, basically, on the top of her head. They just gave her an extra mouth. But it's so cool. It looks so cool. And it's stuff like that where like it's just, and that's also something. Anybody that's ever liked Pokemon for their entire life, if you look, their favorites do tend to change as they change, because it's kind of an encapsulation of what you feel and how you. It really is an encapsulation of yourself because they do it so well, and that's part of the reason I'm so excited for Winds and Waves with them talking about wanting to make them more quote personable, like the original one. They have specifically said they want it to be like the original 151, which is
Well, I mean,
amazing.
if you look at the first, I know when you have so many. I mean, they're before Winds and Waves. I mean, you're looking and
I think
not
it's like
counting the
1,200.
crazy. It's like 11. I think it's 11 or no, it's 1,025.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's it. I thought it was 1,026.
It's 1,025.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh yeah, because of the binder. Yep.
yeah, but if you go back to the original 150, 151, but it was such a perfect combination. Everyone was unique. They all had different traits about them. They had the backstory. They exist in that world. And then as you come throughout the later games, they almost seem kind of shoehorned because
Yeah,
for a while there, it just really felt like they were running out of ideas. And it's like,
that's.
you start to get like a floating chandelier,
Hey
a
now,
key
don't wait,
ring.
You cannot dog on Chandelure now. Hey now,
Who
I
you
love
got?
Chandelure.
What's the one that's
Keefly.
the key ring?
I think it's Keefly.
It's a
Yeah.
key ring infected with a ghost. And then you have the lay, the ring of flowers.
Yeah, that one was was that in Alola? I think that was in Alola. I think that was a regional variant of a Clefly. That's what it was, Clefly. I think that's a regional variant of Clefly. I think that's like Alolan Clef. I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on that at all. But I think after, I know everybody likes to dog on Sword and Shield. I don't think Sword and Shield was that bad. I really don't. I loved Sword and Shield.
I enjoyed it.
Obviously, everybody dogs on these too, so maybe my Pokemon opinions are just invalid. My favorite Pokemons that I've ever played, now taken, I haven't played all of the old ones, the DS ones. I started with Sun and Moon, and to this day, Sun and Moon are my favorites because I played both of them on it was either the 3DS or the 2DS, and I loved Sun and Moon. And it may just be whatever that nostalgia bias is called because I did play it so young. It may be that. But I just think, first off, Solgaleo and whatever the moon chick is called are like two of the coolest legendaries. I think there are other legendaries that are a lot cooler, don't get me wrong, but they're just both really cool. And also, it's the sun and the moon, man. Like, I'm
Believe it or
also a
not,
space person.
Sun and Moon are two that I never played.
Sun and Moon are two that almost nobody has for some reason because I've seen I've seen that a lot on like when I'm scrolling, and especially now that I'm getting a bunch of Pokemon content again. It's just everybody dogging on Sun and Moon, and I really don't understand it.
Never played Sun and Moon. I played all the other ones except for that one.
Wow.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the whole 2DS, 3DS thing.
Yeah.
Because like when I was young, like everybody scrambled to get their hands on the Game Boy Advance, and all the early games were on that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I say all of them. Then what was it that came out? You had the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
That was the original with the big cartridge, and you had red and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like a year or so later, they come out with yellow,
Mm-hmm.
the Pikachu edition. And then after that, I was like, it was Crystal. No, it was Gold and Silver because it was the one with Ho on one and Lugia on the other.
Yeah. Those are just two really.
Then you
cool
had like Crystal Diamond, and then, but I think it had to do with the generation that grew up with the advanced, or well, the Game Boy Color, and then the Game Boy Advanced, and then you had the advanced SP, which would play both cartridges.
Mm.
But it was about the time that everybody kind of, Pokemon went through a slump and people that grew up with it started to age out, become adults. We stopped playing.
Yeah.
And that was what happened to me. By that point, I'd stopped playing Pokemon.
They weren't a
So
super.
when the 2DS and 3DS come out, the old players didn't adapt as much. And the younger players wasn't into it yet.
Yeah.
So you kind of had a gap there in the middle, and then Pokemon has made a resurgence in
Pokemon's made a
more
really
recent
big
years.
resurgence.
Specifically, again, back to the COVID thing. During COVID, Pokemon started booming again with the card collecting and the games because people just needed something to do.
Well, and Pokemon's been getting big again. The only reason I think Pokemon isn't, from everything that I've seen, Pokemon, I think if you take scalpers out of Pokemon, if it was purely down to what, like if you could take scalpers out of Pokemon, I think Pokemon would be bigger than Magic. Pokemon may be bigger than Magic, but I think Magic is like I'm not 100% sure on the sales, but I know the problem is the scales of Pokemon are so inflated because of scalpers. But Pokemon without scalpers, I would just never stop. The only reason I stopped last time was because when me and you went around, we went around that entire day that whatever that evolution set was, Prismatic Evolutions. The day that Prismatic Evolutions came out, me and you went everywhere, and the only reason I got any packs was because of that amazing GameStop clerk.
Yeah.
That actual God sent human. I'm so happy that he was as nice as he was, because I wouldn't have been able to get any Prismatic Evolutions. And I was just 14 trying to find some Pokemon, man. Like,
when that's the thing where you got, crappy adults that are just ruining it for everybody.
yeah, it is a kid's hobby. And it's like, if you just want to buy something, and like I saw a woman today talking about, or she was telling one vendor he didn't realize that he had a misprinted card. It was supposed to say Pokebody, but it said Poke something. There's Pokebody and Poke something else, but there's two of them.
Pokeskill.
Yeah, Pokeskill and Pokebody, and it said Pokebody, but it should have said Pokeskill. So it was like significantly rarer than he thought it was. And she was telling him about it, and there was a couple of people in the comments talking about, like, that's how you know somebody's a true collector, because nobody wrote, no, not nobody, but a lot of people would notice something like that. And you get something where a lot of people nowadays are just looking for the easiest way to make money off of Pokemon. And it's just crazy, because it's a card game that's for kids, and it is now basically just glorified. It's a glorified casino.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people are using it, and especially the deck building. I don't see basically anything about the competitive Pokemon card scene.
I know it's out there. I mean, I've seen where they're still doing the tournaments and stuff. But
yeah, and I know it's out there, and I also know it's really cool because the judges are called Pokemon trainers, or not Pokemon trainers. They're called professors. That's pretty cool. But like, you run a tournament, they should make you your own gym badge.
Well, you can be a gym leader.
Can you? What do you have to do to be a gym
leader?
You
know, Joey's ex-wife, Carrie, her dad was a gym leader.
What? How do you be a gym leader?
You register with the company, the Pokemon company, and you have to beat one of their people in a game, and that gets you someone you've got no skill, and then they sign off and basically say that you're a gym leader, and then they give you a badge.
Oh, you get a badge?
So you can actually give them out.
Do you get to choose your team?
I don't know how that works. I didn't really get to talk to him much, but
that's so cool. I'm gonna have to research that. Actually, that's the coolest thing ever.
I'm gonna run a card shop in Jackson.
You know how cool it'd be for me to own a card shop and be like, "Yep, I'm a gym leader."
Yeah. Well, you can go up and challenge them, and if you beat them, then yeah, you got the badge.
I was gonna say, yeah. Well, is there like an unlimited number of badges? Like, can you just go get more? You know what I mean? And do you get to do you get to customize your own badge, or like?
No, it's whatever it's set at.
It's like the types, basically.
I believe so.
Because I know that's how a lot of, like, if you look at the Poke cards, the they've got like types. Then you punch the ticket out. But I may also be thinking of cassette beasts because I do know that's how it works in cassette beasts. But that's really cool. I'm actually gonna have to do that because that's the
Yeah,
coolest thing
there,
ever.
there can be a lot to it if you want it to be. But the problem is if they don't do something about these scalpers,
Well,
it's going to
and
kill off the trade because the adults like me, I
mhm,
mean, I completely quit having anything to do with it because you can't get nothing.
exactly.
And
Well,
even if
and
you try to get it through the mail,
yeah,
like, I mean, I've literally
yeah,
had mail ripped open with the card stolen out of it.
yeah,
So it's like, I can't buy it through the mail. You can't get it in the store. You can't, I mean, the scalpers are buying up everything. So it's like, why even try?
yeah. Well, and Target has been doing the right thing recently with the that thing that I was talking about this morning about how they've been ripping seals so that scalpers can't sell it that much for that much. And there was something else that was going. Oh, the hit rate. What prismatic evolutions had happened? And this is according to a video I saw, so I don't know 100% if this is true, but it makes perfect sense because I opened like 3 or 4 packs of prismatic evolutions and I didn't get a hit. Prismatic evolutions, what they tried to do was get scalpers out of the hobby by forcing hits to be rarer, and so that just had the exact opposite effect because it made the cards even more expensive. So scalpers just made even more money. So what they've been doing in recent sets is flooding it with more hits. That way, if you get a hit, oh well. You know what I mean? It's still that fun for a kid when they open. They don't care. You know what I mean? They just open
Right.
up. Even me now, I'm almost like 17 at this point, and I still open up a pack. I see a full art and I get ecstatic. It doesn't
Right.
even matter if it's my favorite Pokemon. It's just cool. And Lord help me if I pull a Joltik or Galvantula. You know, I'm ecstatic. And like it doesn't even matter about the money because I just enjoy collecting the cards. And especially like, I can just open up a pack and be like, that would be a good one for a deck. I need another one of that grass Galvantula that I keep in my wallet because I want to make a grass deck where I can have a Joltik Galvantula. Um, but it's make a grass electric deck and have a full evolutionary line of Joltiks and a Joltik Galvantula, one electric and one lightning.
Well, it's funny too. It's kind of weird because that when I was a kid, I remember when it all came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I had so many of those cards. I mean,
Those
it,
Charizards.
we when we moved up here, I had a big box, not a shoe box,
Mm-hmm.
like a big box with multiple shoe boxes in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had thousands and thousands of cards. And I remember when we moved, I didn't play. Nobody else I played, and it kind of fallen out of favor. Whereas if you still did the Pokemon thing, like everybody kind of made fun of you.
Yeah.
I was like, well, nobody's playing. I'm not gonna do anything with them. So when we moved, it's like anything you don't want, put in the truck. It's going to the dump. So I put the box in the truck.
Yep. Yep.
And then when I seen one day, like everything with the COVID, they were talking about these cards made a resurgence, and they was talking about that those original Charizards, some of them going for 100K, and then like the holographic was like 250,000. I was like, I had like it's either one or two of the holographic originals,
Mm-hmm.
and I had three of the just straight up Charizard.
Yeah.
And then I had like the original Mewtwo. I mean, and I had all that stuff. And it all went to the dump. So don't throw away your old cards
Yeah.
because you never
I
know
keep
what'll
all
come back
mine.
one day.
I keep all mine. Which and it's also and I saw like I said while I was scrolling today, it was a real and it was this dude talking about there is one Eevee card that's just Eevee looking out into the distance. And if you look, it's not really hidden, but it's just a slightly faded Rayquaza just flying. And scalpers didn't notice that for a while, but they did all of a sudden. And scalpers got the card, a bulk card, mind you. It was a reverse hollow foil, but it was a reverse hollow bulk card. Nothing special about it except for the fact that there's a Charizard in the distance. It is now $20 just because scalpers started scalping it. And that's
Good
so
Lord.
crazy that you could just get a card up that high. I know there was a dude talking about it in Magic because he was the lobster guy back when Edge of Eternities came out, and there was that lobster that was cooking, the artifact one. He would every time he would make a video, you would see a slight sale increase in lobster cards throughout Magic, but it was never like this random bulk card is now $20, which Magic's also a little different because no matter how bulk a card is, it could still be playable and viable.
True.
Just got to find the right way to go infinite.
Well, all right. Well, you about ready to call it for this one?
Yep.
Been fun, been enjoyable.
Yeah. It really. I was not expecting it to go to Pokemon, honestly. But I mean,
You never know.
we both knew that it was fully possible.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Start with a premise and just see where it goes.
There's no. We're not bound by anything. You know what I mean? I think it'd just be fun to talk about whatever, even Pokemon. But I mean, that's all I got. If that's all you got,
Sounds good to me.
all right.